Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, it dunks. Oh, my goodness.
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone. Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant. He hit it. John Morant. Insanity.
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Grizzlies win edition. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies defeated the San Antonio Spurs 99-97. They won after falling down by 17, then building a seemingly comfortable lead in the final minutes. Then somehow they needed a Jaren Jackson Jr. game winner to escape. On today's episode, I'm going to talk about the win. Plus, I'm going to talk about the imminent return of Brandon Clarke. That's right. Brandon Clarke has been elevated to doubtful on the injury report for Monday's game against the Nuggets. So hopefully, possibly, Brandon Clarke will make his season debut in the coming games, or perhaps this Wednesday for the final Grizzlies watch party of the season in Nashville. That's right. On Wednesday night for the Grizzlies-Lakers game, I will be hosting a watch party at Noble's Beer Hall in Nashville. So if you live in the Middle Tennessee area, coming down to Nobles, we will be having $1 off Wiseacre drafts. Plus, I will be giving away lots of Grizzlies prizes. It is time to empty out the prize cabinet. So come hang out with me. Come hang out with other Grizzlies fans in Nashville. Come watch, fingers crossed, Brandon Clarke. Oh, I don't know, maybe Vince Williams Jr. will also play. Vince has been doubtful for 2 weeks now. But anyways, have a good time on Wednesday. Come to Noble's Beer Hall, 7 p.m. This is Wednesday, March 27th. Grizzlies-Lakers, 7 p.m. See you there. All right. The Grizzlies won despite failing to score 100 points. They had actually lost 25 consecutive games going back to last season when failing to score 100 points. This was the Grizzlies' first win of the season when they failed to score at least 105 points. They had been 0-28 when scoring less than 105, but they hold the Spurs to 97 points. A big part of this game was the Spurs refusing to make three-pointers. The Spurs only ended up 7 for 38 on threes, and of course that includes them making 2 in a row to erase a 6-point lead in a span of a few seconds in the last 30 seconds. The hero of this game, it is Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson Jr., who is one of the best isolation scorers per possession in the NBA this year. Jaren Jackson Jr. hit the game-winning bucket, took Jeremy Sohan off the dribble, got the bucket, capped off a 12-point fourth quarter for Jaren. An underrated part of the play for the Grizzlies was actually Scottie Pippen Jr. screening Victor Wembanyama. It was probably part of the play design, but still, Scottie Pippen Jr. got his body in the way so Victor Wembanyama could not help off and come maybe block the shot of Jaren. He left Jaren one-on-one with Sohan, and that ended up the final margin as the Grizzlies get the win. Jaren finishes with 28 points and has 7 rebounds. This is Jaren's 25th game of the season with at least 25 points. That's the third most games in a season with at least 25 points in Grizzlies franchise history in the Memphis era, trailing only Ja Morant in 2022 and Ja Morant in 2023. Scottie Pippen Jr. overall, so he's on there to close the game. Scottie Pippen Jr. had, I would say, a fantastic game. Outside of those 2 turnovers he had in the final 2 minutes. He had his pocket picked by Trey Jones when the Grizzlies were ahead by 7 with about a minute and 30 seconds left in the game. It's absolutely a thing you cannot have happen. As a point guard, you're just trying to maintain that lead. All you want to do is not turn the ball over. He gets his pocket picked. And then, of course, in that 6-point flurry by the Spurs, Scottie Pippen Jr. kind of misread where he thought Jake LaRavia was going. He throws the ball away. And honestly, like that entire sequence, it was pretty bad for the whole team. Initially, off the baseline's out of bounds play to give up a wide open three for Devin Vassell from the corner. All you have to do with a 6-point lead is guard against the three-pointer. Anything but a three-pointer, and you saw Jake LaRavia, Gigi Jackson allow Vassell to go unchecked out to the corner. Then, of course, there was a turnover, and that tied the game. But despite those two turnovers, Scottie Pippen Jr. was really, really good. He had 18 points in just 24 minutes. That 18 points is one of his career high. He had 2 assists, 3 rebounds, and a career high 4 steals. He got to the foul line a career high 8 times, although he only made 4 of those free throws. But Scottie Pippen Jr. continues to be a cut above the other Grizzlies 10-day players and two-way players. I think next season, when he's on that two-way deal, I imagine he will play a lot of backup point guard. Like, he won't play every game, but I think if they ever have injury issues, you probably feel pretty comfortable with Scottie Pippen Jr. as being your backup, especially with all the ball handlers you have on the team. You know, when healthy, if Marcus Smart is still on the team next year and you have Marcus Smart and Ja Morant and Desmond Bane and Vince Williams Jr., I think Scottie Pippen Jr. seems like a perfect depth piece, a really good backup point guard to have, and to have him on the two-way deal, that's a really good luxury for the team next season when we think about what the roster is going to look like. So a good game from Scottie Pippen Jr. Off the bench, he and Jake LaRavia made a big impact on the game. LaRavia had a big fourth quarter. Him and Jaren, both huge in the fourth quarter. LaRavia, you know, he hasn't shot the ball well at all, but I feel like he keeps making these winning plays, and he did an awesome job of drawing fouls and generating points for the Grizzlies in the final minutes. This was a close game. In the final minutes, you're having trouble scoring all game, and Jake's ability to draw legitimate fouls. He wasn't just drawing kind of like fake fouls. He wasn't tricking the referee. He was accentuating contact. He was forcing the Spurs to foul him, and because of that, he got to the foul line a career high 9 times. Made 8 of those. That's also a career high. It's a career high for makes in free throws, so he finishes with 15 points and 5 rebounds. Here's a single game plus-minus alert. In a 2-point Grizzlies victory, Jake was a plus 21 in his 28 minutes. Now, single game plus minus is meaningless. And also, you look at the corresponding plus minus on the Spurs. Those minutes may or may not, actually they did. They matched up exactly with when Victor Wembanyama was off the court. Victor Wembanyama, in a 2-point loss, finishes a plus 15. And by the way, I mean, Wembanyama is an absolute terror. He finished this game with 31 points, 16 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, and 2 steals. In just the second half, he had 11 rebounds and 3 blocks and a steal. I mean, the guy was a monster. Gigi Jackson kept driving into him, and Victor kept blocking his shot. And then Wemby would finish with these wild alley-oop finishes, or he'd make some just layups really, really high off the glass. Also made a couple threes. So Victor Wembanyama remains a huge problem for the Grizzlies, and the Spurs might be a problem for the Grizzlies going forward. But guess what? The Spurs have not been a problem for the Grizzlies of late. I might have buried the lead here. My favorite part about this victory is that the Grizzlies extended their winning streak over the Spurs to 13 straight regular season games, or 14 straight games if you include the play-in. And I include the play-in. Why wouldn't I? The Grizzlies have this now multi-year streak of beating San Antonio. I value it a lot because I felt like I was a Grizzlies fan back in the day when the Spurs beat the Grizzlies 21 straight times. That stretches back to the Vancouver years, but there was an overlap with the Memphis years where the very sorry Vancouver/Memphis Grizzlies lost 21 straight times to the Spurs from 1997 to 2002. So I consider this to be some measure of revenge. And honestly, we're now 2/3 of the way to full revenge. 14 straight victories over any team, especially a team in your division. That is very, very impressive. So I probably care more about that winning streak over the Spurs than most people. And I know some people who have their eye on the standings and have their eye on the Grizzlies' lottery odds, maybe not that thrilled. you pulled off this win. I don't care. I care more about this multi-year streak than our draft odds. Also, like, if we lose this streak, I mean, we're not going to keep winning every single game over the Spurs, I don't think, because they have Victor Wembanyama going forward. So I'm still going to cherish those victories, and I'm going to cherish this 14-game win streak over another franchise, particularly a franchise that terrorized us for like 2 decades. So I was very excited that the Grizzlies got the win. Also, they got the comeback win. This is the 3rd straight game in San Antonio on the road where the Grizzlies mounted a rally. In this one, they were down by 17 points in the second quarter. The previous game this year against the Spurs in San Antonio, the Grizzlies were down by 19. And then the game before that, going back into last year, that was the 29-point comeback, the largest comeback in Grizzlies franchise history. So the last 3 road games against San Antonio, the Grizzlies have come back from 29 down, 19 down, and 17 down. Now, in this one, when they were trailing 39-22, I was a little bit distraught. Not just that they were down by 17, but it felt like tanking, because the Grizzlies played some wild lineups. The Grizzlies, of course, extremely shorthanded. Desmond Bane did not play in this game. He was listed as out with some back problems, and he's had a history of back problems, so that checks out. But also, before this game, the big question to me was, who's going to play for the Grizzlies? Is Jaren Jackson Jr. going to suit up? Because as we pointed out, the last 4 times the Grizzlies played a team that had a worse record than them, Jaren Jackson Jr. did not play. And then every other game, he played. So I was kind of like, all right, is Jaren going to play against the Spurs? I'm guessing not. Well, Jaren did play, but Desmond Bane did not. So we're thinking, okay, that probably is because, as an organization, they're keeping their eyes on those standings, and they don't want the Raptors to catch them. By the way, if you didn't notice, the Raptors did catch and overtake the Grizzlies. The Raptors have lost 10 straight games. So right now, the Raptors have a worse record than the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are 1 game ahead or behind, however you want to say it. The Grizzlies are 1 game better than the Raptors right now. So currently, the Grizzlies sit with the 7th best odds for the lottery. Meanwhile, the Raptors have the 6th best odds. But when the Grizzlies were down in the second quarter, I was thinking this is a tanking move because of the players that were playing. We had all the 10-day guys on the court together. We had Diki Giroux playing alongside Malzinha Pereira. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, his first name, but you had Giroux and Pereira playing together along with Jordan Goodwin. You had those 3 guys with Jake LaRavia and Santi. You had those 3 guys playing with Scottie Pippen Jr. and Gigi Jackson at the end of the first quarter. These are some weird lineups with barely NBA players. Like, if you're only, regular NBA guys on the court are Jake LaRavia, who as of a month ago, we didn't think belonged in the NBA. Like, if your only guys on the court who are on your regular roster are Jake LaRavia and Santi Aldama, that's a pretty sketchy lineup. So in the first half, I was like, I guess we are tanking because of who we're putting on the court. But lo and behold, especially in the second half, some of those bench guys, notably Jake LaRavia and then Scottie Pippen Jr., had awesome games. Like, especially in the third quarter, both LaRavia and Pippen, that's when they really shined. But the Grizzlies started erasing the lead when Jaren Jackson Jr. and John Conchar checked back in midway through the second quarter. They ended up going on a extended 21-5 run to erase the Spurs' big lead. Most of that, again, the Spurs could not make any three-pointers. So then the Grizzlies get within 1 at halftime, and then the second half mainly close with the Grizzlies starting to, build a little bit of that lead. And that's how the Grizzlies end up with the victory. Now, the starters for the Grizzlies, this was the 43rd different starting lineup for the team this season. You had Jordan Goodwin start alongside John Conchar, and then Gigi Jackson, Santi Aldama, and Jaren Jackson Jr. Gigi only had 14 points. He had 8 rebounds and 3 assists in his 37 minutes, made 2 out of 8 3-pointers, was 3 out of 8 on 2-pointers. So a pretty rough shooting night for Gigi. Santi Aldama, though, Santi Aldama posted his 5th double-double of the season. He had 15 points and a season-high 13 rebounds. Also got 3 assists and a block. He made both of his free throws. Good job, Santi. He made 3 out of 6 three-pointers. So Santi's really strong run of games continues. Conchar had 6 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. Made 2 three-pointers. Played 33 minutes. Again, not big stats from Conchar, but when he's on the court, just his overall competence raises the Grizzlies' level of play a lot. I do feel like that is honestly reflected in his plus-minus, where he was a plus 13. Goodwin, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, and 2 points. Do you like how I did the points last? He's not a scorer. Although his 2 points were big, he made a jumper in the fourth quarter that was a very important basket. But Goodwin continues to show that he can basically do everything but score. And he's quite bad at attempting to score. And Dickey was scoreless off the bench in 12 minutes, and Pereira scoreless in 13 minutes off the bench. And this win, by the way, was the Grizzlies' 16th road victory of the season. That matches the same number of road wins they had last season. Last season, when they finished second in the West, they had the same number of road wins as they got this year. Of course, the Grizzlies continue to be putrid at home on the year. They're tied for the fewest home wins in the Western Conference with 8. Hopefully they can fix that on Wednesday night against the Lakers. But tonight's game against the Nuggets, the injury report, you still have Desmond Bane. He's questionable with the back injury. So is Lamar Stevens. So is Jake LaRavia with illness. So maybe, if I'm guessing, I would guess Lamar Stevens actually comes back and plays, but maybe not. Maybe Bane doesn't play because we would hope perhaps both Bane and Jaren and Brandon could all play on Wednesday night, but Bane is questionable. Lamar Stevens is questionable. Jake LaRavia is questionable. Luke Kennard is still out. He and his wife were expecting their first child. I honestly don't know if that has occurred or not, but he's been out for personal reasons because of that the past few games. Yuta Watanabe remains out with personal reasons, and then all the rest of the normal guys are also out. Derrick Rose, by the way, he's supposed to be reevaluated tomorrow based on the previous timelines they gave us, but I would not hold my breath for that. Just like Marcus Smart, who's now about 2 weeks overdue for an injury update. Not going to hold my breath about hearing anything about Marcus Smart coming back. If you want to take a glance at the reverse standings, so I told you the Raptors have passed the Grizzlies, are now 1 game worse, thus ahead of the Grizzlies in the standings for the lottery odds. The Nets have actually caught the Grizzlies somewhat too, or they're catching up to the Grizzlies. The Nets have lost 6 straight games, so now they are only 2 games better than the Grizzlies. So I do feel like, listen, I'm opposed to tanking, but I don't really want to fall down to the 8th spot. Why are the Nets losing all their games? This is beyond weird to me. I mean, the Nets are bad, one, but like the Nets, their draft pick is 100% unprotected. They're just helping out the Rockets right now. Every loss helps the Rockets. So presumably they won't just shut guys down. Hopefully we don't have to sweat that one out. And we can say our 7th spot in the lottery odds is at least secure. But I don't know. It's another thing to keep our eyes on as we keep, focused on all the things around the team. Also, like if you're watching the NCAA tournament and like how that might affect some of the Grizzlies draft prospects. As you know, I don't know much about the draft prospects. I watched a little bit of the NCAA tournament. I'll say it wasn't very good for Reed Shepherd and Rob Dillingham. Guys expected to go high in the draft. Of course, Kentucky lost in their first game. Neither one of those guys did very much. I watched some of Cody Williams, who's supposed to be the top maybe NCAA wing or like small forward. Was not very impressed, even though Colorado won a couple of games in the tournament. Donovan Clingan for UConn. Maybe he's rising draft boards, or people are like, yep, That's the kind of guy we want. Maybe the Duke center, Filipowski, he's still alive and playing, so that's someone to watch for the Grizzlies. Like him, and then Klingon, and then, of course, Zach Edey from Purdue, all centers who are going to be in the first round. And, of course, the Grizzlies have that glaring hole at center they probably want to fill before next season. So a couple of things to keep an eye on. So Grizzlies play tonight at the Champs at the Nuggets. They come home on Wednesday night. Play the Lakers. That is the Grizzlies Nashville watch party. Please come out to Noble's Beer Hall Wednesday at 7 p.m. And with that, I thank you for listening. If you want to support this show, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. Join up with the Grits and Grinds Slack channel over there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for Grits and Grinds. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel for Fast Break Breakfast. I've started doing Fast Break Breakfast episodes again. So that is just me. And for the next month or so, at least, going to be Dave DeFore talking about the NBA at large. If you're an NBA fan, which I assume you are because you're listening to this, go listen to Fast Break Breakfast as well. All right. Hope you guys have a great Monday. I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.